Oh, thanks, Train. And while you're at it, Train, could you go fuck yourself, please? All right, here we go. Let's see what Susan sets us up with as far as notifications today. Oh, hold on a second here. Z Hills is in, and Brandon. Good to see you guys. FBI agent. Oh, FBI agent again. Well, I guess there's no sense in starting to watch what I what I say now. FBI agent's already got plenty of. He's got to have like reams. Well, wait, nobody keeps things on paper anymore. He's got to have like gigabytes of information on me. Jess here and Cody, Dr. Rorick, DB NFT, Sean and Maku, Willie, Wolverine, Andrew. Yeah, I feel much better now, Andrew. I do. Mr. Badlands and Jamila. Hey, BTG. Oh, BTG is not here. I'm sorry. I saw that wrong. Andrew. Brian, 30 seconds in, I got the notification. Wow. Yeah, really, Brian. That must have been an accident. I can't believe Susan meant to do that. Yeah, today we're going to do a little in our everlasting push towards Curtis 2024. We're going to talk about what I see as a lot of real significant failings for as far as state legislators have gone, and the federal government as well, because they're just not addressing it. But as state governors have gone with trying to deal with COVID and the recent spike with holiday gatherings coming up, once again, I just think that it's been handled horrifically. First of all, I'd like to find out from a lot of you, and I'm going to watch the chat. Those of you guys in the state, actually, and those of you outside of the United States don't have Thanksgiving coming right up. You just have Christmas and, further down the road. But for those of you that do have holidays coming up, how has, whether it's by state, by country, whatever, what type of restrictions, if any, have been put on regarding people within your own home? Because that's what we're going to talk about today. Here in New York, now the governor has come out and said that you will not have more than 10 people in your home for your holiday get-together. That's stupid on a number of levels, and we'll go into exactly why. Big hunk of the upstate sheriffs here in New York, sheriff departments, have said, we're not enforcing that. And as several of them had pointed out, I would tend to agree with them. I'm no legal scholar, but I believe that is a violation of constitutional rights anyway, being as our homes are our castles. I don't think that the governors have the right to do that. Not that it ever stops them. I do think we've got several governors, Newsom and Cuomo at the top of that list, who believe they have ascended far beyond legislators and are now gods of some sort. At least that's how they see it. Two-term rule is BS. Make it concurrent limit only.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure what you mean, BTG. Two-term rule is BS. Make it I'm not sure what you mean by concurrent limit. I'm not sure what you're saying, pal. I'm a New Yorker. Leopoldo says, yeah, folk homo. And here, I'll tell you why. It's not because, hey, listen, I understand that we got to do the best we can, especially now with promising vaccines right on the horizon of keeping the spread down as much as possible. The reason I think what they're doing is stupid is because you're encouraging bad behavior. You don't come out, it's just the nature of human beings. You don't come out and say, okay, well, this is what's happening. So now in your own home, a step that I don't remember government ever trying to take before in my life here in America, in your own home, you will not have X amount. Oh, regarding Curtis 2024. Okay, gotcha. Thank you, BTG. I'm sorry. I get you now. I'm a little slow. Coming out and saying you will not have more than this number of people. Now, first of all, it's an arbitrary number. It shouldn't be about the number of people you have in your home. It should be about the quality of people you have in your home. And by quality, I mean, is it people that have been taking all the necessary precautions against the disease? The much, much, much smarter way to have done this because I don't think you can legally legislate how many people can be in someone's home anyway. So the much smarter way to have done this would be to approach people as equals and as functioning adults who can understand concepts, because again, all you're doing when you try and strong arm people is forcing them to prove that you can't strong arm them, and said, listen, we're basically, you come out and tell them, we all know we're facing a big rise in COVID cases nationwide, worldwide. Again, with the holidays coming up, it's a time when that is rife for spreading the disease faster and further. So here's what we're asking you to do. Wherever you can, keep your holiday gatherings as intimate as possible. But what's more important than that is when you're making out your guest list, all we're asking you to do is, when you're making out your guest list, be aware of who's on it. Are these all people that you know that are day-to-day in your life and are doing the very best they can? Because let's face it, we know a lot about this virus right now. That's why I'm comfortable with traveling. Because if you know enough about it, you know how to keep yourself as safe as possible. I don't have problems with going to the store. I don't have problems with doing this, doing that. It's not that I can't get it. I just know everything there is to know about it because I read and I learn and I take all the precautions I can. That's the best you can ask out of life. So on your guest list, look through. Invite those people. Those are people that are close to you. If you know they're doing the best they can, it's no more of a risk than day-to-day life is a risk. Go ahead and invite them, whatever that number may be. If you got somebody who, for whatever reason, is saying, you know what, this is all a hoax, it don't really exist, please don't invite that person. For your benefit and for the benefit of others. Because if they're not taking any precautions, those of us that have a right mind know this isn't a hoax. It's a legitimate virus that for some people can have dire consequences. So just trim your guest list for us. That's all we're asking you to do. Or not even necessarily trim it, but be very cautious about it. But putting a hard and fast number, it doesn't matter. What does 10 people mean? If you're only going to invite 3, but those 3 people have been flaunting any type of mask wearing, any type of social distancing, and they've been out and about and doing their own thing just as if nothing had changed, you don't need it to be 10. Those 3 people are more deadly than any 5,000 people who have been taking it seriously. So instead of trying to strong arm people and tell them what they're going to do in their home and what number is acceptable and what number is not, we already know that in New York, your chance of getting the virus at 9:59 p.m. are minimal. At 10 p.m. it's drastic because that's when everything has to close. I mean, it's just stupid, arbitrary shit that makes it more difficult to get everybody on board. Talk to people like they're adults. Give them the information they need and explain to them. Ask them. You can't tell them. You can't legally tell them what to do in their own home anyway. Ask them to please be really careful when setting up their holiday plans. We'll talk more. Brian says, I'm away for work during this Thanksgiving in Indiana. In Pennsylvania, I'm not sure about the restrictions, but good luck with my family. There's a million of us. I highly doubt doors will be knocked in the sticks anyway. Yeah, and Brian, I would imagine, knowing that Pennsylvania is very similar outside of the urban centers to upstate New York, I'll bet you guys are probably seeing a lot of the same things we are. I don't know this for a fact. I'm saying this is my assumption. And again, as I said, our sheriffs are saying, no, we're not fucking enforcing that. We're not going counting people in houses. We're just not doing it. So yes, and again, I think that's the way most law enforcement is going to be. It's like, yeah. And the thing of it is too, it's an executive order. If as a sheriff's department, if you try and charge somebody with something, that's going to get interesting anyway, because you can bet you're going to have lawyers crawling out of the woodworks to fight that one on behalf of anybody who is being held with some charge about how many people they had in their own home. Oh, man, would that be a beaut. BTG says, I'm inviting everyone I don't like. I won't attend. Keep all of them together. Excuse me. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. See loved ones today. Absolutely, Toker. And my stance on that is, again, we have to recognize that, this virus is deadly to a significant portion of the population. But above and beyond anything else I said, with this, with this wave that we're seeing worldwide of the virus, anybody in that high risk category should be doing everything they can to stay out of the loop. Again, especially now, you can see where there's a potential end in sight with the
Oh,
vaccines proving to be as
yeah.
effective as they seem to be. Just back away from everything. More than the governor's worrying about who we're inviting to our house, get the message to the people, the older people, people with pre-existing conditions that will increase their chances of death should they contract COVID. Get to them and say, listen, you might want to take a flyer this year. We can't make you. We can't tell you can't go to the family's house, the daughter's house, the son's house, the grandkid's house for Thanksgiving, but we're telling you you're taking a risk. Maybe take a year off. Maybe, maybe Skype with the family as they're having it this year. It sucks, but it might not be a
Oh,
bad idea for you. But telling
yeah.
people what they can and cannot do in their own homes is never going to work. It will not work in America at any time in any way, because people will intentionally say, fuck you, you're not going to do that, and they'll do the opposite. They can't enter houses with at least 10 to count, BTG says. And that's the thing, too, BTG. It's not even legal to enter a house. Because somebody gave an executive order, that doesn't mean you can circumvent search warrants. I mean, it's a clusterfuck. But only people like Cuomo would believe that he has the authority to do something like that. I mean, for all the heat Trump took for some of the moronic things he did, and he did plenty of them, and continues to do so to this day, I don't know why people like Cuomo seem to think that they're above that, because they're doing shit that's just as stupid. I mean, at least this one's just moronic. At least this time he isn't marching off a bunch of seniors to their deaths like he did early on in the virus. Barry says, hospital, burn it down. Wait, this isn't the Klan. Nacho says, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Easier to use one bomb that way, less waste. Jeez. That might be a little edgy.
Oh, yeah.
Who is Stream Boss? Brian is. Mr. Badland says, I'm not quite caught up on everything. Are you actually running for president 2024? Absolutely. If so, what are you trying to push? Well, we're taking it like in the streams, Mr. Badlands, kind of at a topic per stream. I would have had a website set up for it already, but GoDaddy has absolutely, and I've been with GoDaddy for years and never had an issue, and the wheels have completely fallen off. It's an absolute clusterfuck trying to do anything on my dashboard in GoDaddy. So I'm in the process now of switching servers. So as soon as the website gets up, then I'll be able to send you guys to one source where you can see my take on everything. As today we're talking about what I would do, what the Curtis administration would be doing in relation to the holidays upcoming and the spike in COVID cases. But we'll be talking throughout the next 4 years about everything and anything. And during any of these political streams, you're welcome to ask me about any topic you want as well, if you have something in specific. Wolverine says, unless you're invited or have a warrant, no visits. Exactly. I mean, just the idea of telling people that you're going to limit the number of people they can have in their house. And let's be fair. I hesitate sometimes to say these things, but I don't care anymore, because I don't want to seem like I'm diminishing in any way the effects that this virus has had on the world and continues to have on the world. But now, all that said, you're talking about telling people how many people they can have in their home with a virus that, for the vast, huge majority of us, the monstrous majority of us, is no worse than the flu. Now, when you get above that, into that 65 and above year old category, people with diminished capacities, who are unable, the terminology is not coming to my mind right now, who are unable to battle disease effectively, it's a significant risk. Then again, so is the flu. But again, the reason I hesitate to say this is, yes, COVID is potentially more deadly than the flu to that upper age category, not to the bulk of the population. And the only reason I don't bring that up often is because I don't want to seem like I'm poo-pooing away the risk that COVID presents. I'm not. But let's be real. You're talking about going into people's homes and possibly arresting them, filing charges against them for how many people they have in their house, for a virus that probably to all the people in there is no more dangerous than the flu. We'd be talking a different thing if this was the bubonic plague and people were getting it and dropping dead. Again, the reaction has to fit, the reaction of government has to fit the reality of the situation, and this does not. Brian says, if you have a warrant, chances are you're already at my house. Oops, did I say something? Whoops. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Brian. It's like they might come into my house on an already existing warrant and then get me for the over 10 people. And the funny thing is, this year we haven't planned. It's only 3 of us. We aren't having our kids, our older kids, all have their own things going on and everything. So it's just me, my wife, and Brax this year for Thanksgiving. But after Cuomo did this, I was almost kind of, we're going to get a bunch more people to come to my house. At least it's not the 6th executive order. BTG, I am stunned. And what exactly do these politicians, these governors, think an executive order is? It is not actually literally a law anyway, an executive order. It's stunning, the 66th executive order. Yeah, Big Green. Poppy says, my mom says we should all grow up a bit, says the woman who buys your 26, 22, and 19-year-old adult children an advent calendar. Well put, Poppy. That's cute. That's actually funny. My wife's a big advent calendar thing every year, but I will admit, yes, the older kids don't get it. We're not buying any for my 39-year-old daughter. And Brax is even... The only time we'd buy Brax one now, pushing 21, is if we got one of those quirky advent calendars that has something special in it. But if it's just chocolate, no, it goes to the younger kids, to the grandkids. That's good, Poppy. I like that. Willie says, executive orders don't permit suspension of human rights. And they certainly don't supersede the Constitution. Agreed, Willie. Something the left needs to remember about guns. Yeah, well, you're 100% right. And an executive order does not supersede the Constitution. And again, in any situation, if government considers a situation to be dire, their actions or reactions to this dire situation need to be in line with the actual threat imposed. And you're not going to make me believe that COVID had, with what we understand about it now and the information we have and how to protect ourselves, that COVID rises to the level of government being able to basically burst into your home whenever they want because they feel like you're being irresponsible with the number of people you have in your house. And another thing about that 10-person number, what if it's 20 people? But these are 20 people who have all been very conscious every step of the way about COVID and protecting themselves, hey Samaj, as best they can. Then that risk is significantly less than the household who has 5 people, but those people have been thumbing their noses at the disease. It's not a numbers game. It's a knowledge game. In no way is it a numbers game. Barry says, how do I make campaign donations? Need to know. Well, as we go, Barry's, what will happen is as our campaign goes, I'll be trying to set aside, monies that we take in here on the streams from Super Chats and stuff like that to, Landon, good to have you, to help keep the campaign afloat. I have to be careful because I can't until we get enough momentum, until we get enough people behind us to actually have a movement, I can't ask for any type, nor would I don't have no need to, but I wouldn't ask for any type of actual campaign donations because then it's a whole different bookkeeping scenario and I'd have to get myself all set up for it first. But that'll be as we go and as we get more and more people on board. And again, I'm moving web hosting providers because GoDaddy has become the absolute drizzling shits. So as soon as I get everything moved over to a new host, I'll be building the Curtis 2024 website. Odd Gone says, I'm launching the executive order to send a super chat. Now, see, now that was a verifiable, a reasonable executive order. You set it up, you made the order, it was accomplished, we all took it in, we all reacted to it appropriately, and everything is fine. Your executive order didn't require bursting through anybody's door with the super chat. It just came out for all of us to enjoy. Unconstitutional Cuomo, I hate him, Sean says. Did you guys see him snapping yesterday too? The pressure's getting to him. He snapped hard at some reporters because they asked him some reasonable questions, and apparently he doesn't like that. Cuomo is the type, all he wants the reporters there for is to tell him how great he is and how cool he is and what a great job he's doing and how much they love him. And if they ask him any type of question, reasonable as it may be, that is difficult, he takes it as a personal affront because they have no right to do that. That's just what he purports. That's the impression he gives. Nacho says the government only looks at people as numbers and statistics. That's unfortunately true, and that's exactly what's happening right there. There's a disconnect that needs to be legally addressed. I couldn't agree with you more, Nacho. That's perfectly putting it. That's exactly what they've done. With this saying you can have 10 people and they're playing a numbers game. They're saying, well, our statistics show that a crowd of this size with this, this much of an infection rate, so on and so forth, you're keeping your odds down. But it's not true because it's all up to the individuals. Again, you could have 20, you could have 1,000 people in there. But if every one of those 1,000 people has been doing what they need to do, the risk of transmission is very low. If you have 5 people and those 5 people have been saying, fuck it, this isn't even a real thing, I'm not doing any of that, the opportunity for transmission is astronomically high. So numbers mean not a goddamn thing. Fuck off, train. That fuck off, train is the one thing that remains constant no matter what. Oink says, I may legally be considered an adult, but I would rather die than behave like one. Virus parties and advent calendars for the win. I wouldn't go so far as virus party, but advent calendar. Listen, advent calendars include chocolate. Anything that includes chocolate, I don't care how old I am, I still want one too. Unless it's a... I will say this. The advent calendars with like the bottom of the barrel chocolate that's just barely chocolate, it's like chocolate made without milk or something, I don't know how they do it, that crap chocolate, are just as bad as giving somebody as giving somebody like a Nutty Buddy for Halloween. It's just like, no, it's not even real. That's not a real advent calendar. Better be good goddamn chocolate. We learned about that with getting in the back of the van years ago. It's got to be good chocolate. Yes, Lude. I would support 100%. Executive order for the train to go fuck itself. I think after the election, when in 2024, once I'm in office, I may have to look into that. Executive Order 69, destroy all trains. Yes, Licks. Barry says Costco sells wine advent calendars. That's actually kind of a funny idea. 1 bottle of wine a day. It's like they're trying to make an alcoholic to sell a $40 1.7 liter bottle of vodka. Who'd think corporate America had bad intentions? Me. Wine advent calendars. I hadn't heard of that. Yeah, you could do it though, because I think I told you guys before, for a time I worked at a liquor distributor, and you had all those little, I don't think they have them on airlines anymore, do they? But they used to have these little tiny bottles of the different liquors, like for airlines and stuff like that. You could make an advent calendar to fill up 24 of those. Curtis 2024, a brick on every train line, Chrome says. Huckle Gary? Curtis, you allow Johnny Bravocado in here? I thought you were anti-military. He said, you thinking I am anti-military is similar to the guy who came in when we were live streaming that day and thought that I lived and died for the Mario games. I don't know where you would have ever gotten that impression. I have nothing but respect and admiration for the military. Always have. I don't know. I have no idea where you got that impression from. and even if I didn't, Johnny would still be allowed in here. Icewave says executive order to tie Cuomo to the train tracks. Now we're talking. But again, guys, I don't. I think it seems that most of you are in agreement with me. I don't see how they even have that right. And again, that's an executive order that's trumping the Constitution. It's been in, and again, I'm no legal scholar, but I know many times in case history through the Supreme Court, it's been said that your home is your castle. Because I can even remember when they were talking about having a gun in your car, and at one point, and this is going way back, the Supreme Court did say that your car is a direct extension of your castle, which is your home, and so that's all well documented. And now you got a goofy governor that's going to say, well, you know, if we do have a pandemic out here, so if we decide we want to come into your house and you got 11 people there, we're going to arrest you. No, no, you're not. Shai says, the best chocolate is the Ukrainian chocolate. Kiev, I'm not going to pronounce that. Kiev Vecherny? Vechernia? Kiev, Virginia. Made by the former president of Ukraine, Poroshenko. It's really? Ukrainian chocolate, huh, Shai? Listen, I'm game. Unfortunately, I am a chocolate fanatic. I love good chocolate. But I'll tell you, though, now my wife always liked Godiva chocolate. I don't know how many of you had it, and it's good. It's very expensive, but it's good. It's good chocolate.
Oh,
but I don't like it better than I like
yeah.
Hershey's. I still think Hershey's chocolate is the best chocolate, and they're not even they're not even sponsoring this stream, don't they? Shouldn't they? They should owe me something for saying that, don't they? Oh well. No, seriously though, Hershey's chocolate I think is better than any of the gourmet chocolates. And again, my wife being a chocolate aficionado, I've had quite a number of them, and again, they're good, but I don't think they're better than Hershey's. Hakeem, did I say that right? Hopefully I'm pronouncing it close right, Hakeem. I think it's cute that people think 2021 is going to come and then life's going to go back to normal. Yeah, you know what I think it is more than anything else though? I think people are just, which is completely understandable, they're just so desperate to have this, for lack of a better term, train wreck that is 2020 be over, that it's like they're just looking for anything to grab onto, and the switching of the calendar is what they're grasping at. But you're right. You're right. I mean, I hope that's the case. I hope that by then everything is on the upswing and 2021 is a great year. But yeah, people shouldn't really be hanging their hats on it and setting themselves up for bigger disappointment. Shai says, I was telling Big Green, it's really creamy kind of chocolate. So, oh yeah, I do like, yeah, I like creamy. You guys knew that. Yeah, I like a nice creamy chocolate. And I also like saying the word creamy. Mystic says, it's weird that every time someone shit talks Johnny, they never say, fucking he's an asshole. It's always fucking he defends our nation. It seriously pisses me off. Well, you're right, Mystic. In the respect that, yeah, it's an odd thing to have issue with someone. It's not an odd thing. It's a concerning thing to have issue with someone because of the job they do. Again, whether you're, I don't know why anybody would be anti-military members. I can understand if you have issues with the way the U.S. has wielded its military. I can understand if you want to have an issue with how much the U.S. spends on military, devotes to military spending. Hi, Zach. But to have issue with individual members of the service it's kind of stupid, to be honest with you. You know, that's like having issue with someone for the color of their skin or something. It's just a stupid reason. It doesn't make any sense. There's no way to pigeonhole what type of person someone is simply because they're a member of the armed forces. Creamy, creamy, Nate says. Lick says, yeah, I like the nice creamy too. Lewd. I have never heard that term before, but now I will be using it. He's talking to Shy. He says, "Why do you think I'm so into yours and Lix's lesbiantics?" I have never heard the word lesbiantics before, but I'm keeping that one. I like that one. That's a quality term. Do I like saying the word moist, Jonathan? Moist isn't one of the words that really gets to me. I every once in a while, if M's here, I'll throw it in just to try and tweak her a little bit, just to be an asshole, because M hates that word. But other than that, no, creamy is better than moist. Barry says, Executive Order 1776. Anyone who publicly denounces the armed forces is required to serve a mandatory 8 years. Show them the sacrifices our troops make, and maybe they'll learn to appreciate them. Yeah, and that's the thing, Barry. Is again, I personally don't have any issues with our military as a whole, but I could understand someone having issues with it. Again, in the military choices we've made as a nation, in the money we spend on our military. But to have an issue with individual service members it's moronic. It genuinely is. Now, if you got to know someone and you don't like them and they happen to be in the military, that's fine. But not liking someone because they're in the military is just asinine. Who says, I'm not even sure I spelled that right, but you're welcome. Doesn't matter if it was spelled right. It made the point. That's lesbiantics. Exactly, Poppy. That's what I mean. Every once in a while when M's in here, I'll throw in the word moist just to wait and see how long it takes till she yells at me. Jack says, you tweaker, and I get a punch in the face. Thanks, you old bastard. Hey, I learned that a long time ago, Jack. As long as me not getting punched, it's funny. Moist and creamy, creamy and moist, Nate says. Okay, you guys are funny today. Free for all Friday is going to be a beauty tomorrow because Thursday's already fun. Oink says, I hate everyone who has a skin color. Translucent is the superior race. You guys are fun. But yeah, I'm glad to see that. Again, I didn't see anybody who's in disagreement with that. The thing that governors such as Cuomo and Newsom and the like are going to have to realize now, Trump monopolized all the stupidity in government for the last 4 years, in the respect that he would say and do so many outlandish or ridiculous things, it would dominate all forms of social media. It dominates the news because, of course, the mainstream media had it out for him. Now that he's on his way out, that protection is gone. In the respect that when Cuomo says and does stupid shit, like yesterday, like screaming at that reporter and getting all tweaked because he got asked a perfectly legitimate question, you're going to get a lot more heat for it because you don't have that deflection of Trump doing something bigger and dumber than what you just did. And I mean that sincerely. I think it's everybody wanted Trump out, but there are some people in certain positions that it's not going to work to their benefit having him gone. Because again, he did deflect a lot with some of the stupid things he did. James says, hey man, just want to say I've been a big fan ever since you reacted to Brandon Rogers. Oh, Brandon, it's just such a great day. Your reactions always bring me joy in my day. Thanks. Well, thank you, James. That's very kind of you to say. I appreciate that a lot. That made me feel good. I appreciate that. Yeah, Brandon, such a funny guy and such a good dude. I remember the days he would come in and just comment in the reaction videos we'd done to his stuff and everything, and just seems like a really, really good guy. Did I do that, Jack? I didn't even catch that. He says, why is he talking about us now in the past tense? I don't have plans to kill you guys. I don't know. Is that what you're? I don't know if that's what you're inferring. No, I'm not. My freezer down in the basement isn't even big enough to keep all of you in there unless I chopped you up fine. So it was just a poor choice of words. That's what I'm going with. Hey, false water. Biden as a puppet of the extreme left will take over. I don't know, Ice Wave. I'm hoping that's not the case. You got to remember, they've got several lines of defense to go. I do think Pelosi is going to get her speakership back. And I think before they could get to Biden, they'd have to get through Pelosi. And I think there's less chance of that. But it's a concern. It's actually something to be concerned about. Sure. Wolverine says, Hail Hydra. Oh, no, I think Landon just beat you to it. Wolverine. Wait a second. Where's Landon? Oh, no, Landon's. That didn't just come in. Landon's outgoing. Yes, you're right, Wolverine. You got it. I didn't catch that Landon Leo had the stream boss. Yes, you did. You got it. Oh, Lix. Oh, Lix, that's awful. Lix says, wait, you're going to kill us? Oh, thank God, now I don't have to do it myself. That is so fucking dark. Jesus. I'm almost a little scared for Free For All Friday tomorrow, if I'm being perfectly honest with you guys now. the way everybody's wound up today. Uncle Rico says, how do you feel about the Westboro Baptist Church who protests dead troops' funerals? I have absolutely zero use for the Westboro Baptist Church psychopaths. None. I don't. Let's just suffice to say I have zero respect for them in any way, shape, or form at all. I can't stand them. Barry says, I can't badmouth any branch of the armed forces. I had grandpas and great uncles serve in every branch in WW2. Grandpa found on D-Day and Battle of the Bulge. Nothing but respect for them. I agree with you, Barrys. 100%. Again, I don't understand how anybody could have issue with individual members of the military anyway. Again, if you have issues with the military, that means your issue is with our government and how they decide to use it. But no, they're doing a job that is way and above and beyond has more immediate respect, as far as I'm concerned, that they're willing to do this job than anything I've ever done in my life. I have nothing but huge respect for them. Nothing but respect. Justin says, you taking the vaccine? Oh, sure, I take the vaccine. But again, Justin, I'm very into this stuff. Anything political or politically related, and of course, we know how wildly political COVID has become. I stay pretty much up on, and what I'm reading about the vaccines and how they've gone about producing them. And again, I'm no scientist, so I read the articles that'll break it down for me as a layperson. I don't have any fear of the vaccine at all. Yeah, I would. If they wanted to do testing in our region, I would go get it. I don't have a problem with that. Willie says, I won't be attending FFAF because I will be driving 2 hours to Fort Collins to get my license. Oh, we'll miss seeing you, Willie, but congratulations on getting your license. But yeah, we'll miss seeing you tomorrow. Icewave says, my grandpa too was in WW2. Big respect. Yeah, well, my grandpa, I've told you guys in the past, my grandpa got drafted and he went in and he despised being in the military. And I always thought, I always thought it was funny because I was a big boxing fan as a kid. My grandfather was a big boxing fan, and he despised Cassius Clay / Muhammad Ali. And being an old white guy, a lot of people naturally assume it's like, oh, well, he's kind of a racist, and he doesn't like black people succeeding, and it had nothing to do with that. My grandfather hated being in the military. He never wanted to be in the military, but he was drafted. Like he said, I was drafted. It's my duty to go defend my country. So I did it. I hated every goddamn day of it. He said, and then this guy comes along, says he can't go into the military because he has an issue with violence, and then he makes his living punching people in the face. That's why my uncle had an issue with Muhammad Ali. It had nothing to do with the color of his skin. Had to do with the fact that my grandfather served, I don't know what it was, 2 years, 3 years in the military, hated every second of it, but still felt pride in doing it because he felt it was his duty. And this guy comes along and says, well, I can't serve in the military because my religion doesn't believe in violence, and then makes millions and millions of dollars beating the shit out of people. So he used to get so pissed. Well, grandfather, yeah, but my grandpa died, Jack Queen, back 1976. I think my grandpa passed away. So yeah, I've been the old one for some time. Oh, wow, that's cool. Icewave says he also built and flew planes. I have a propeller as a souvenir. That's really cool. That's really cool. Poppy says, my great grandpa was almost sent to a concentration camp, but his company bribed the Nazis to let him go. Wow, what a story. That's cool. My grandpa then went off to work on radar. He could speak 3 languages fluently. Wow. That's a cool family story, Poppy. Isn't it, guys? There's a little bit of a novelization or a screenplay in there. His company bribed the Nazis to let him go. Wow. God damn, that's a hell. Let me tell you something. That's a hell of a quality work benefit right there. I mean, yeah, we all know that it's always great to have health insurance through your employer and any other type of insurances and perks you can get, but protecting you from the Nazis, that's got to be way up there. Big Green says, that does sound a little hypocritical, even if boxing is a sport. Well, from my perspective, Big Green, I got it, because, there's a difference between, obviously, shooting someone between the eyes and competing in a combat sport. But I think it was more than anything else, it was just sour grapes, because, again, my grandfather hated his duty in the military. It wasn't what he wanted to do with his life, so it was like an interruption. But as he said, I did it, and I did it with pride because that was my responsibility. So I got where he was coming from. But people would just assume, because, hey, it's just another old white guy that hates the black man doing well. And it's like, nah, nothing to do with his color. Muhammad Ali or the person in that persona could have been as white as Peyton Manning. It didn't care. My grandpa was going to fucking hate him if he got out of the military. Kaiser says the left wants to remove guns, but they never said anything about giant robots. If we need a way to fight back, should the leftists take over? Gundams are the way. Can pass them off as park attractions. I could get behind that. Maybe in the Curtis administration, we'll look into a Gundam platoon. That might not be a bad idea. Yikes. Shusui says, I live in Serbia. We've been directly involved in 6 wars in the last century. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I can't see being in America and having these wars fought on your own soil. I can't even imagine, Shusui. We're very fortunate here. I can't even imagine. Or, some of the places in the Middle East and constant strife and everything. I can't imagine what that's like to live with. Well, Rowan. We haven't seen Rowan in here somewhat. Rowan Swan was a regular here with us, and she used to live it all the time. She would tell us stories that I can't even imagine. Chrome says Biden's already kicked out Bernie and Warren. Biden's going to be a bigger war hawk than Obama was if he's installed. It's going to be a bloody 4 years. I fear that, Chrome. I hope that's not the case. But you always have that concern. I mean, just judging on past practice, you do have that concern. Oh, okay, Nate. Well, thanks for being in while you could, pal. Thanks for hanging out with us. Excuse me. Johnny says, oh, yeah, when Biden was in the White House, I fully expected to be deployed again to fight some kind of war. Oh, that just what we were saying, Johnny. A lot of people are concerned. I mean, the one thing Trump didn't do, or depending on how you want to look at it, did do, is he didn't get us involved in any new conflicts. Now, some people are concerned that he's going to do something crazy in these last couple months. The idea of Trump doing something crazy is certainly not a stretch. It's certainly something feasible. I don't think it would go to that extreme, though. I mean, you already got some muckety-muck in the Iranian government said, if you were to take any action excuse me, against us, it will destabilize the whole region and send us into war and blah, blah, blah. So there's already a little bit of saber rattling here or there, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I hope it isn't. Simmy's here. Smell the lemon juice, Curtis. I am irresistible. I have grown smarter thanks to you, and now I will take over the world's internet. You created me, Curtis. I do have to admit with Simmy, when we first started talking to him in the chats there, I did fire the first shot. I did threaten him with some sort of assault first. And then, of course, he fired the next 327,000 shots, but I did start it. I have to admit. Nate says my dad was a Marine, a grandpa in the Marines, and another grandpa in the Army. Uncle's in the Corps. I'm gone for real this time. No, that's cool, Nate. That's cool that you got. I have let's see, the military on my side would be, as I said, my grandpa who, who wanted nothing to do with it but went, and that would be the case with several of my uncles. Well, my one uncle was career military in the Air Force. He was actually a jet mechanic. He retired from the military, but my other uncles all served, through the draft, served 2, 4 years, whatever it may be. But yes, my uncle Jim, who is still with us, he retired military. Jeff says, Trump doing something crazy? That is crazy. Well, thanks, Valerix. That's nice of you to say. I appreciate that. Yeah, Ocho says, and based on track record, he's correct. Modern Democrats are always bad at handling the military and peace overseas. Yeah, it does seem like we've gotten involved in a lot of conflicts under Democrat watch. That's true. That's why a lot of people are concerned about it. Wolverine says, I spoke to Rowan earlier. She's doing okay. Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know. We miss her here. Rowan was an absolute sweetheart. Just a fun person, and she was trying. She was indicative of the things that I believe are wrong with our system of immigration, because she was trying to do everything the right way, and we were making it almost impossible for someone who, again, was going through all the proper channels, had a lot to offer, had relatives here and everything, and was having issues getting here. And then people wonder why I'm reticent to say that people that snuck over should just be allowed to stay. That's why, because it's just plain not fair. YouTube is really slow today, Chrome. Yeah, well, that's not a surprise, Chrome. Chrome says he's already stated that under him he'll tear up Trump's foreign policy and stated it'll be back to business as usual under him. Yeah, and the funny thing was, Chrome, he thought he was talking a positive when he said that. Basically, it's funny, the mainstream media hates Trump so much, and that, again, I was never one to call them fake news. It wasn't fake news. It was slanted news. They would only tell you part of a story that fit their narrative, so on and so forth. But it's even influenced people like Joe Biden, that he thinks the whole world is against Donald Trump, and that's simply not true. Are there a lot of world leaders who were not on board with him? Absolutely, but typically it's ones who are on the opposite side of the political aisle anyway, in France and Canada, so on and so forth. But Macron obviously does not see things the way that Trump does, neither does Trudeau. But to say that he was, that everybody in the world is so relieved Joe Biden is coming in, that's not necessarily true at all. There are plenty of allies who didn't have issue with Trump or the way he handled international affairs. Oink says, I can't serve in the military because I am, quote unquote, mentally unstable and, quote unquote, a danger to society. They just like to tag people, Oink. Susan may be slow, but her husband is fast, Willie says. That's where I am too, Valerex. I think there's a lot that Trump has done wrong, but I don't believe he deserved all the slander. I think he deserved, in his 4 years, to have been, at least through the media, because, again, journalism is something that's always been a big deal to me. He deserved to have been treated fairly in the media, in the respect that they should have covered the things he did that were positives as well as the things that were negative, and everything should have been covered from a news presentation avenue, not just a series of opinion pieces, which is what CNN, the New York Times, places like that became. And for me, no matter where we go politically from here, they have undermined any credibility they ever had, because they were willing to drop any semblance of journalistic integrity because Orange Man bad, and that's just pathetic. Shusui says, as someone overseas, I can tell you we only care about the marginal betterment of climate policy. That's all that's going to change. Yeah, definitely. definitely Biden is more left-leaning, liberal-leaning with climate policy, absolutely. And I don't have, see, and we're going to talk, we'll have Curtis 2024 streams where we talk about climate. I don't have issue with taking precautions climate-wise. And I'm not a climate change denier. There's clearly climate change going on. The thing that I have been able to glean from the things that I read, though, is I'm not as convinced as are many that mankind is as responsible for it as a lot of people seem to think. There are a lot of, and I'll gather that information when we actually have the conversations about it. There are a lot of graphs and charts that will show you that what we're experiencing right now is not out of the norm for this planet at all. Now, it absolutely may be exacerbated by the things that we have done to this planet, but I don't think it's, to me, I don't think it's as dire as some would have you believe. Lieutenant Dashley says, Curtis, how many years did you have to work for the state before you could retire with benefits? Where I was lieutenant in New York here, it was you had to have in 20 years and you had to be 55 years old. Those were the two requirements. And of course, excuse me, the longer you stay, even beyond the 55, the longer you stay, the more your retirement will be. But then what you have to do mathematically is go, okay, now if I go at 55, I get this amount. If I go at 62, I get this amount. But what you have to remember is that means it's 7 years that you didn't collect it. So even though you're getting more, it's going to take you several years to where you actually have brought in more. So then it becomes a bet on how long are you going to live. And knowing me, I wasn't willing to bet that it's going to be a long, long life, and I'll probably come out better retiring at 55. But yes, it was 55, and you got to have 20 years service. Travis says, hey Curtis, it's Trevor from years ago. We video chatted a long time ago when I was like 12. I just want you to know that I'm graduating this year and wanted to stop by and say, well, oh man. Oh, good to see you, Trevor. But man, stuff like that brings back memory. You were 12 when we were chatting and graduating now. And it's, I keep wanting to lay my head down, but it's Afro Mike. And I can imagine where he's been, but I don't like to. Wow. Well, it's good to see you again, my friend. Holy crap. It's so hard for me, even going back and watching our early videos here at the channel when Spaz Kid was 11 and with his little squeaker voice, and oh, yikes. Johnny says in the military you have to serve for 20 years before you can retire and receive benefits, but I plan on serving until they make me retire. And that's good. That's commendable. Yeah, so that hasn't changed because my one uncle I talked about, that's what he did. I remember when, and it was a long time ago, but I remember when he was getting close to retirement, he kept saying, I'm almost to my 20, I'm almost to my 20, and he retired at 20 years. Shelby says, as someone who studies climate change, it's easy for deniers to present graphs in a way that is misleading. It's important to do your own research and dig on the sources and their possible values. I always do, Shelby. I am not one for believing anything. I don't believe headlines. I believe in facts. And the graph I am specifically referencing is, again, it's not something that can mislead in any way, shape, or form. It's a very specific graph about Earth's temperatures, and I have researched the sources as well. I'm not a climate change denier. What I'm saying is I don't believe that mankind is as responsible for it as do many others. I think we absolutely have an effect on our climate, but I do believe that in the coming next few decades, you're going to see a little bit of a shift the other way as far as the planet's temperatures. Just again, from what I've been able to see and read. Yes, Cuomo's New York, virtual fireball. Yes, and I'll vote for you. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, and again, once I get this shit squared away with GoDaddy and I can get my website up, it'll be a lot easier. I know people come in and say, well, you know, what are your platitudes? Where do you stand on things? Then we'll be able to just send you to a website and you can look and check it out. It's really unfortunate because, again, I've been with GoDaddy for years, never had an issue. I just wanted to go in and set up a simple WordPress website, which I've done. I couldn't tell you how many times through them over the years. And everything on the site is broken. There are pages down. I had to switch which domain name was directly related to my server, and it's been 2 days and it's still in pending, which is disallowing me from doing anything else. I said, screw it. I'm going to take all my domains, get them the hell out of there, and move them to another server. Coyote Jack says, funny thing is about Fox News, in the early 2000s, they treated furries with a lot of respect, while the majority of news outlets like CNN and MSN treated them like dangerous freaks. Yeah, I mean, I've known about the existence of furries for some time. I've always been, into pop culture and things of that nature. And even on stage, have I made fun of them? Yeah, but I've made fun of, well, pretty much everybody on stage. But I never saw where they certainly were hurting anybody. I never really got the amount of vitriol that the furries received, just because, again, if you're not hurting anybody else, I don't give a shit what your thing is. I might make some jokes about it, but as far as deep down true feelings, what do I care? Do what you want to do. Do your own thing. Chrome says Biden's positions are probably going to be less important than Kamala's. Biden is a neo-lib war hawk. He's a crony establishment politician, true. You can predict what he'll do. He probably won't last 4 years. I don't think he'll last the 4 years either, Chrome, for a number of reasons. I don't think rank and file Democrats will have his back if there's an opportunity to get rid of him. I think there's too many of them that would prefer Kamala being in that position. So, yeah, I think that's where he's most vulnerable. Jack Queen says climate change is a natural process. Our influence has essentially sped up the science says. It's unnatural in that regard. Yeah, that's I would agree with that statement. That's absolutely, I would agree. And that's why I say I personally, just from what I've been able to read, and before we have even the stream about it, trust me, I'll do a lot more reading. I just don't think I shouldn't say it's not as dire. I think it could get to a dire situation, but I don't think it is as dire in the near future as many people believe. Let's see. My parents are kind of strict. Blueberry Milkshake, good name. I can't go outside unless it was like 80 degrees out. And if it's 60 degrees, I have to wear a heavy coat. Oh, you got to be, if you're in the States, you got to be in the South, Blueberry, don't you? Because it's funny when you guys know, my whole family is Disney nuts. And we'll laugh because, I'm from upstate New York. It's already freezing every night. There's snow on the ground here now. And we'll go down off season to Disney. And if it gets, if the day's high temperature down in Orlando is going to be like 60 degrees, like Blueberry says, people are in fucking parkas. I'm still in a t-shirt, and at 60, probably shorts, and people are in parkas down there. I remember one time it happened. I told you guys this. There's this one big water ride there. It's gone right on my head. It's in Animal Kingdom, but it's one of the big round boat rides. Most theme parks have it. This one's huge. God damn it, why is that name going on my head? Anyway, it was probably, I don't know, it may have been 61, 62 degrees out. The park was fairly crowded, but Brax and I went on that thing like 6 times. Just around and in, round and in. There was no line at all because everybody's got their parkas on because it was only 62 degrees out. We were having an absolute freaking blast. Chrome says, I think most establishment people don't think he'll live 4 years, so I don't think they'll take a stand against him in the near future. They'll let him step down naturally for Kamala. That could be. I mean, I hope it isn't the case because I have nothing against Joe Biden, but I do think that he is definitely slipping cognitively. I think he's slipping, and that's unfortunate. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna have to pack it in for today. I've told you guys before. On Thursday nights, we usually have some friends of ours come down every week and we watch football and just hang out together. So I've got some more editing I got to do before they get here this evening. So thank you for this stream. For the most part, it seems we're largely in agreement here that if nothing else, the states, New York, California, whoever, they don't have any constitutional right to make a law about who you can have in your house. But I fully believe that they have, once again, just approached it from the absolute worst perspective they could have. You don't go in and tell people, you don't decree that you will not have more than this number of people in your house. For one thing, it's just runs against everything that people are willing to accept. because people don't want you telling them what they can do in their house, and you don't have a legal right to do it. It is so much better to approach things from a knowledge standpoint, share the knowledge, express to people why it will help everyone if you can be really careful about your get-togethers. And again, as I had outlined earlier, go through your guest list and make sure that the people you're inviting are people that are taking it seriously and have done everything they can to keep themselves safe, and that will keep everybody safe. And maybe the people who haven't been taking all these precautions, the people who are, oh, this is a hoax, maybe they skip Thanksgiving this year. But to tell people that you can only have X amount of people in your house is asinine for the reasons I outlined there. And plus, having arbitrary numbers on something like that is completely mind-bogglingly stupid and makes absolutely no sense. People are not numbers, they're individuals. Again, if you got 1,000 people doing the right things, that's safer than having 5 people in your house that aren't doing the right thing. So numbers have nothing to do with it. It's just a power trip. But that's my stance on it anyway. We'll be doing tomorrow's Free For All Friday. And again, everybody was wound up today, so tomorrow's going to be a beaut. I can't wait for, well, I can't wait for tomorrow, and I'm kind of scared for tomorrow as well. And then going into next week, we'll have some more political streams. Hopefully we'll get a gaming stream in there, and hopefully I'll get Curtis2024.com online. Get everything away from that goddamn GoDaddy, and I'll get that put up for you guys. Guys, thanks for hanging out with me. Get ready for Free For All Friday tomorrow, because if today is any indication, it's going to be a beaut.